In these times of massive disruption and unbelievable uncertainty, we need leaders who can really push us towards something better. This disruption and uncertainty is hard, but it is also full of possibilities. And we need leaders who are not just making incremental change and managing our problems. We need leaders who are creating transformation to move themselves, their people, their organizations, and all of us forward toward better tomorrows. Today, I want to talk about 5 different kinds of change and how you can lead through them all. I work with many organizations and leaders who are focused on change, and that change often brings up feelings for folks. For many of us, the changes that happened when we were children did not end up well for us, and they might have ended up in hurt, pain, or even trauma. And so now when there's a new organizational chart, all of that comes flooding back. It maybe doesn't make sense in the moment, but it makes sense to us in our brains and in our bodies. Just remember, human beings love what we're familiar with, even when it's not working for us. And so as leaders, as we're navigating through change, it's important to be explicit about what the change is and how you're going to lead through that. We don't need to manage change, we need change leadership. So how are you going to lead through change? I think an important part of leading through change is understanding 5 different types of change. Now there's probably many more, but I want to keep it simple as we think about this. The first kind of change is the one that I'm really helping leaders to do, which is transformational change. Transformational change is 2 things. It's positive and it cannot be undone. Is it a positive change? And it is something that cannot be undone. The metaphor here from nature is a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. That's not something that is easy to go back from. So transformational change is positive and cannot be undone. The next level beneath that is progress. Progress is positive, but we can slip back for it. It's not permanent. So an example of that might be after a forest fire, a meadow coming back to life after a forest fire. Progress. But there might be another fire. There might be other things that are happening. Sort of the neutral level below progress is change, which can be neutral or positive or negative. So change itself isn't positive or negative, although many of us have feelings about that. And also just the status quo can often be neutral. It can be positive or negative, but change and status quo don't inherently have positive or negative. They're neutral terms. Then below that is regression. And regression is a negative change, but not necessarily permanent. This might be an injury to an animal or a pet or an animal that we see in nature. Is a regression. We might have to take time and heal, but we might heal and come back from that. You might think about regression in your organizations as the loss of a dynamic leader, losing some key staff members, losing grant funding, for example, might be something that you think about in terms of regression. It is a step back. We need to acknowledge that and be with reality, but it isn't necessarily permanent. And the final one is really decay. And decay is negative change that is permanent, similar to transformation, but negative. So an example from nature is a tree that falls and is now going to die and decay. And that is the end for the tree. We're not going to undo that. But it also can, that decay and contributes to the environment, and it might lead to something new down the road. So as movement leader Grace Lee Boggs would often ask activists, what time is it on the clock of the world? For me, that's a reminder to step back from our moment and see the clock of the world. It's a great metaphor. What time is it? And I notice it often feels pretty near midnight for me, but that can't always be true. That can't always be the time on the clock of the world. So what perspective, what possibilities open up? And I was just reading a great book called Leading Generously, building off of her other book, Generous Thinking. And in that intro, in a great chapter on leadership, she quotes from leadership guru John Kotter, who said most organizations are overmanaged and underled. And that really resonated with me and the leaders I talk to who feel like they're often managing rather than leading. And some leaders don't want to lead because that can be scary, and they just go back to managing because that's what got them in the leadership. But that's for another video. As you're leading, How are you going to lead through change? What kind of change are you leading through? How can you be clear about it? How can you be explicit about it? How can you help lead your team through these changes, whether they're regression or decay or progress or transformation? If you'd like help talking through this, through coaching or a retreat with your team, let's connect.